Investing in design. Why? When you get it right, it can reflect your values, send a message, even enhance your well-being. It's the architect's solution that pushes the boundaries. We've gathered a team of leaders from Tasmania's property, building and design industry. Guided by two of the state's most respected architects, Mike Vidal from 1+2 Architecture.
I think our landscape is so demanding. There's no excuse for crappy buildings. We've got to get it right.
And Rebecca Fullerton.
I think a lot of people don't understand other professions, and I think the more we can talk about our professions and the way we can engage the public and the industry in what we do, the better for all of us.
This group of industry experts count down the state's top 10 architectural statements for 2016.
I think what you've got here is a good, balanced leader panel, and the 10 projects that we've been looking at today are all worthwhile winners for all different rhymes and reasons. They all push the boundaries.
If we can lift the level of housing in Tasmania, it's great for all Tasmanians. So if we can lift the design or the thoughts or the way properties are being built, it's a winner.
Today is a really wonderful experience. We've got a lot of passionate people from the industry who really appreciate beautiful design.
Now our journey continues as we count down to the ultimate Tasmanian architectural statement of the year. Number 5. And John Ahrens from Steel Line Roofing led the way for this next property, gaining high praise. John is an industry legend with 40 years' experience. Steel Line Roofing are the unchallenged roofing materials leader in the state.
Here is a client that has an 1850 home and they want to put a rebuild. They want to put an extension onto an 1850 home. Now, do they extend and keep the heritage look of the existing structure, or do they go for something that's today's architecture? I like it because I think that if we don't build these contemporary designs today, we won't have anything to showcase to the next generations.
First thing I love about this project is you come up these stairs, we don't really know what to expect, get to this landing and wham! There's this fantastic bit of Tasmanian heritage architecture. But I know there's more in store for us than this. Hello, you must be Miranda and Ian.
Hi.
Yeah. You must be really happy here. It's beautiful.
Oh, we love it here.
Why don't you come in and see what we've done to the place?
So this is now the new, unexpected, principal entrance to the house. It's a beautiful little statement. It sounds different, it's beautifully detailed, and even down to the floor mat and door handle, you really get a sense of the quality of this project.
Hi, mate.
G'day, how are you? Nice to see you, Ian.
Okay, so this is where the old house really started here. This was a brick wall that we cut away. In fact, this was actually the dunny here. You can still see some of the stud wall here.
I love the way this bridge is just working so beautifully between the old and new and that overlap.
Yeah,
you can really get that sense, can't you?
merges the two in together.
Yeah.
And you know, this is far from an original house, and here's one example of it. This is the 1850s part of the house, and this room here was added in 1920. You can really see how they've cut them in together there. And this room here was the old kitchen. You know, the oven was here. We had ththese beautiful old orange Laminex benches from 1975. Overall, it was a bit of a mess, and along the way we found this old brick wall. We didn't actually know. It was completely covered up with plasterboard on both sides. And you can see these really lovely old handmade bricks. Here's a really good example of one.
Wow. Yeah, that's fantastic. A convict brick right there with the arrow.
We actually wanted to just leave this wall as it was and varnish it. The painter got the wrong message. He started to paint it. No, stop. We just ended up with this lovely white frame around the outside, which is a nice touch.
Yeah, it works. It's great. Wow. This is really different, isn't it?
It is, it's great.
Yeah. So what was your brief to your architect?
What we wanted was a really modern space where we could cook and eat and live, and also be connected to the backyard and the garden.
Part of the design intent was to look at the old lean-to farmhouses and Tassie shacks, and the old creosoted preserved timber that was used in those shacks, and that's part of the added to the contrast of old to new and make it relaxed.
So it's quite a contrast to the old house next door, if you like. But this really opens up into the garden, doesn't it?
It does open up, and it means we can see the river and the sailing boats.
Yeah, lovely.
And we can watch the kids playing and just really enjoy the backyard.
Yeah.
I think it was really important to have the access to the view and also to the backyard.
Yeah. Was the project daunting for you?
Yeah, a little bit. I guess there's a sense of responsibility in designing a building that didn't detract from the character and history of the existing house.
You're always going to get controversy when you're dealing with old meeting new. And this project is no exception. The success of it is really around the beauty of how the old meets the new. We've got the contrast in the materials, in the colours that are strong, that really work on the outside in, and the way it meets the ground. Everything that really is contrasting to the old. These things are the hallmark of really great architecture. So Miranda, are you happy with the result?
I love the result. Every day I get up and I look up the hallway and I wander up here, and it brings me joy.
Number 4 was a favourite of Scott Cordwell from Cordwell Lane. A building company specialising in architectural design, delivering countless award-winning projects recognised by Architecture Review Australia and many more.
It's a little river, this house. It's in a suburban setting, and I think it challenges our thoughts on what a typical suburban house is. The way this building was built was using a SIPS panel. SIPS panelling is a prefabricated panel. In fact, I believe they're made in America to spec. So you send your spec across to those guys, they make it, ship it over, and then you direct it. And then there's no manufacturing on site, which is great for a house that's built around a garden setting, which means there's a very low impact on the side. From that point of view, I think it works really well.
Driving through the suburbs is like driving through a time machine, where you see all manner of styles and shapes and sizes and people's tastes over decades. The home that we're heading to is very much about its time, 2016, and it's in stark contrast to what you might expect ordinarily in the suburbs. The first thing that strikes me about this project is you can't see the front door straight away. Instead, I'm greeted with this beautiful timber screen, and we're heading in towards the front door. We see a little snippet view of the garden, and then turning the corner to the front door, we see this lovely outdoor dining setting, extending its hospitality to us. It's really great. Hello.
Mike,
how are you?
Great to see you.
Nice to see you too. What an amazing place. Are you happy?
Very, very happy.
So why are they calling this the 5 Yards house?
Interesting question, because actually there are 4 courtyards. So each of them has its own story, and the 5th is the whole garden.
It's just a beautiful little sanctuary, this one.
It's like an oasis, isn't it, mate?
Oh, it is, absolutely, absolutely. Being in the private area of this part of the house, it's sort of not part of the rest of the common area, so to speak.
So the balance of the materials here are pretty restrained. We've got concrete and wood, and we've got a black ceiling. What's going on with that?
The black does it for us because you're not focusing on the ceiling, you're just looking outside. So the emphasis always is the colour outside, no colour inside, just a really natural palette. The clever part is there's a little strip of LED light that goes all the way through the house. So at night, because there's so much ambient light, that we actually only have the strip on, and we live from all the light outside.
Yep.
So in the bathroom, for example, you see the bats and the birds flying.
The challenges in having the building built was, first up, sourcing the product, the SIPS system. We ended up getting it from Canada. Secondly was the builder. We went through 2 or 3 that just wouldn't touch it.
So why did you bother with that?
The client was interested in using a product or a system that was a little out there.
So what we have here is a cross-section of the SIPS system. where we're seeing either side of the same and a styrofoam running through the middle, which is giving this building amazing thermal performance.
This is our power bill for the last winter season, $207.02.
And how much of that was fixed charges?
$100.
So you're saying $100 over the winter period. Wow. This project is a really beautiful example of what collaboration can really do. An excellent client, a fantastic architect, and a really great builder working together to produce a really beautiful outcome. A great result, this one.
Next, out of the ashes rises a masterpiece.
On the day of the fire, the family took everything that they could as the flames just tore through and took everything.
Pushing the boundaries heads into the top 3, and the countdown is on for Tasmania's top architectural statement of the year. We've gathered a select group from Tasmania's property, building and design industry to count down the state's top 10 architectural statements for 2016. Heading up the judging is Annette Harper from My State and Brett McKay from Mackay Timber. Next is the judges' pick for number 3. Cordwell Lane were the builders for this project, so Scott sits out of the discussion. Like the rest of the panel, Kim from Cementel was blown away by this creation. Cementel has a strong focus on design. They produce products and technology that provide solutions and inspire architects, designers and specifiers.
Loved Denali House. Just from the first moment I saw it, the simplicity of it from an aesthetic. Obviously the engineering that had to go into it and the way that they've used the concrete and the timber and tried to meld that together. It is pretty much a pushing of the boundaries of engineering and building.
It's good to see the bush regenerating and houses going up after those terrible fires roared through here. I'm really looking forward to seeing this project because it's very much part of that story. So where was the original house, Stu?
It was a couple of hundred metres back up on the hill back. And on the day of the fire, actually, it was quite radical. All of those hills over there behind us were completely alight. And, you know, the family took everything that they could and ran down to that little rocky point over there.
Okay.
And looked back as the fire just tore through and burnt everything in its sight, including the house.
How terrifying.
It's interesting because in the aftermath, you know, there was this opportunity because the family used to look from their old house towards the point and often wonder, oh, it'd be great if we were further out towards the water and what could we do out there? And now we have this.
What a wild sight.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. And like this fire that was sitting around back, it's just a lovely little piece of the fire, you know, the force, if you like, that transformed the site.
Yeah, that's really symbolic.
So the design time was around 11 months, including all the permits and drawings and so forth.
Yeah, and what about construction?
It was about 8 months. The modular way of building certainly sped some parts of it up, but then there's quite a bit of craftsmanship in the building in terms of getting all these elements to fit together and be really precise. The engineer did an amazing job. It is quite complex. It looks simple, but there's complexity in the engineering to get these horizontal planes floating and getting these precast panels in exactly the right position to hold them up, so it's quite critical. The building itself was about two things. It was firstly about recovery and secondly about doing something new. And so in terms of that recovery, I wanted to give to the clients something that was really peaceful, and that's why we actually pushed the building as far out as we could to the water so we could actually hear the waves
and the wind.
And the wind.
As an architect, I think this is a great project. The owners have been decisive and confident. They engaged an experienced architect and trusted him to deliver their brief. And this
is the result.
Next, number 2, and it's an out-of-this-world experience.
It looks like it's an alien intelligence almost, where, you know, these containers have just been dropped, but they've been dropped into a very beautiful form.
The countdown continues to Tasmania's top architectural statement of the year. Our select team of property, building and design industry leaders are counting down the top 10 architectural statements in Tasmania for 2016.
I'm really excited about what architecture offers in Tassie. We've got an extraordinary natural environment here, an extraordinary climate. We really have a winter, we really have a summer, and architecture is presented with these amazing opportunities to respond to our climate, notwithstanding all the things that a client brings to the project. So the client is the real great enabler, and we've got architects here in Tassie doing marvellous work in a really competent way. And that's very exciting to see.
A space designed by an architect is usually very considered, and it creates wonderful environments, space, light, that are beneficial to our health and well-being.
Number 2, and Kim is inspired.
I just think that this is another phenomenal project. The colouring of the timber and the steel, it just naturally blends into the environment. You just have magic. I think it works really well.
What I find so intriguing about this project is that it makes such a bold statement well before you get there. This is not your average cellar door.
Welcome to Devil's Corner.
Thank you for having us. Tell us about the brief you received from your client.
We reimagined how we could create a cellar door on this site, which is a fantastic site with the hazards behind us.
Yes.
One of the main drivers was to make a brand statement, a spiritual home as you would, for their wine in the middle of their vineyard. So it was really important to try and attract people into the site. And so as part of that, we built a big signpost.
Well, you certainly got our attention.
Yeah. This building really tries to capture different aspects of the landscape. This part of the lookout in particular is all about the sky. We wanted to try and focus people's attention on the purity of Tasmania's sky.
And this space is so focused and there are no other distractions, which is really beautiful.
Now let me take you up the lookout tower.
Wow, look at this spectacular view.
And part of the reason that works, Mike, is because as we've wound our way up the tower, you've had a chance to look over the vineyard, seen various aspects of the site, and then you're presented with this elevated view that's a little bit unexpected, and it's just all there in context.
Oh yeah, it's so captivating. It's really beautiful.
We're at the cellar door now. We've collected a series of buildings around a courtyard to try and create a sheltered space that gets you away from the wind. Whereas on this side, we've got the amazing view of the hazards. So it's relating all of that back to the site and the origin of the wine.
There's a lot of different elements to this project, Peter. How did it all come together?
Mike, we were just really lucky to have a great client who was willing to work with us, who took a bit of a risk on a bold idea. We also had an excellent builder who worked through all the details with us. And I think it's that collaborative process that makes this a real success.
Coming up, Tasmania's ultimate architectural statement of the year is revealed.
Are you sure this is a number one?
Absolutely.
Over 2 episodes of Pushing the Boundaries, our team of industry leaders have been counting down the top 10 architectural projects in Tasmania for 2016. And for head judges, Brett McKay from McKay's Timber and Annette Harper from My State, there was no doubt.
Yeah, it's fantastic what they've been able to do to get cabins like that there, way out in the south, one of the southernmost points of Australia.
It's absolutely amazing. What a wonderful, daring, bold move.
Voss Construction were the builders, so Darren doesn't participate in the discussion.
5-star glamping, and you've got the beauty of timber, and basically you are actually off the grid.
It just captures everything that Tasmania is. Its scenery, the ruggedness, the remoteness.
Are you sure this is the number one?
Yes.
Absolutely.
The Three Capes track is a 4-day walk along the coast of the Tasman Peninsula, with stops each night in the cabins. We're heading to the first one. It's called Surveyors.
Hi, Andrew.
Welcome to our office.
Great. Great to be here. So tell me a bit more about the construction process, Andrew.
It's not your normal construction. We're 5 hours walk from the nearest road and everything has to be slung under a helicopter to be brought in.
Yeah, the boys from Voss wouldn't want to have walked these in, would they?
I wouldn't have either. So if think of it like a big Meccano set. Windows, the doors, the wall.
And the windows, they're angled down. That's unusual.
Yeah, that's actually to minimise bird strike.
And because it's bolted together, does that mean it can all pull apart?
Yep, so in the event, say in 75 years' time, we want to remove the building, it can be all unbolted, again slung under a helicopter and flown back out again. You've got to remember, this isn't a hotel, it's a bushwalking cabin.
It must be world class in terms of a walker's cabin.
Yeah, it is. We've had people from Canada and New Zealand, you know, marvel at how good they are. We've got hand pumps for the water.
A hand pump?
Yeah, our idea was that water's pretty precious, so we wanted people to work for the water. It's a magnificent place to be. It's sunny, it's protected from the winds, great outlook, and you've got a fantastic view of Cape Rao.
Great, yeah, it's absolutely magnificent.
You wait till you see the next one, though.
Another interesting aspect about the design I've noticed is the deck. It connects us to everything. And around parts of the deck, they've used different screening methods to create a variety of spaces. One of the spaces is the kitchen area. They've used timber slats at the back that tell us not to look that way. It encourages us to look this way, at, well, this.
So we've used a whole variety of materials. The timber, for example, is really interesting because it has to be bushfire resistant. It's really dense, which means it's also...
It's not going to burn.
Yeah, it's not going to burn, and it's also not going to weather a lot. It's going to be low maintenance.
I think this project has pushed the boundaries in 3 main ways, and it deserves to be number 1. Firstly, the design process was a massive effort and took 4 years. Secondly, just the sheer logistics of the build. And thirdly, the result. A world-class facility that Tasmanians should be proud of.